Okay, you're all very welcome here here to us in Strasbourg after a few weeks being off in recess. And it's appropriate that in the first instance that on behalf of Team Sinn Féin that we send our deepest condolences to Lynn Boylan and her family. Whilst Lynn is not with us today, and she is actually here in Strasbourg fighting the fight on the right to water, she lost her mummy suddenly over the holiday period, and we want to let her and her family know that we have been thinking of her deeply. Even though these institutions have not been up and running, the team Sinn Féin has been working very hard in each of our respective constituencies and indeed across Ireland. I've been working very hard with groups and organisations, again trying to get them to navigate their way through EU funding opportunities so that they understand when calls are coming out and how they should apply for the process. So I've done countless meetings over the summer, and I've also been working with Michelle O'Neill, our Agriculture Minister in the North, particularly on the issue of dairy farmers. And Matt Carthy, who's not with us today, he's off now doing a bit of work particularly with Commissioner Hogan's announcement yesterday, which was quite disappointing because Matt and Michelle and others have been arguing, particularly the farming community themselves, for a review of intervention prices. So Matt is off trying to garner more support for that, because even though the announcement was made yesterday, there's a lot more that needs to be done. So Leah and I are here holding the fort today. I have quite a busy week here in Strasbourg. I'm going to be leading this engagement with yourselves as a report back, and I'll be having a meeting with the United Emirates Ambassador, and really I want to talk to them about Yemen and what's happening there. But obviously I think one of the things that has been dominating all of our thoughts and really our actions and the actions of people power, and you could see as millions of people have taken to the streets and have marked in solidarity and in contributions in relation to the horrific image that we've seen of a 3-year-old boy being washed up on a shore in Turkey. He should have been playing on a beach, not washed up like a wave. And the heart-wrenching image of that young child really provoked a reaction from the people across the world. As a result of that, I think the refugee crisis has actually moved up the agenda. As you know, we in Sinn Féin have been arguing for that. We've been arguing for the Dublin regulations to be suspended. Really, that's when refugees arrive in a particular member state. It means that whatever member state they arrive in, that the process has to start there. And they don't want that. They want to go to where their families are. But let's be very, very clear about this. 80% of the refugees go to neighbouring countries, developing countries, because these people simply want to return home at some stage. Only 0.1% of the refugees come to 28 member states, and indeed, when you consider the US, Canada, Australia and 28 member states, less than 15% of the refugees are looking to come to these particular regions and countries. So we have a lot more to do. We have been working very hard. I went to Lampedusa, held a 2-month-old baby who had been, as a consequence of the Dublin regulation, almost imprisoned with her mummy because her mummy was refusing to give her fingerprints because she didn't want her fingerprints taken there. She wanted her fingerprints taken in Germany so the process could start there. One of the things that we've been very, very focal on is that every week £2 million is given to an agency called Frontex. Frontex is what's supposed to be protecting the borders in Europe, and really what that means is it's keeping refugees out. And they have got 328 vessels. And when you consider that Ireland has to do a lot more on the refugee issue, but Ireland has only got 2 vessels, and in those 2 vessels they have rescued 5,000 people in a number of months, and 328 vessels. Think what they could do for the Mediterranean. It's turned into a floating cemetery, and they haven't went out once on see a rescue operation, search and rescue operation. They've also got 52 helicopters. So we have been arguing that agency, this isn't about funding, because when you consider £2 million has been given to that every week and they're not doing a very good job, then we are arguing that needs to be redirected and it should be an international search and rescue operation. I'm also meeting with Mogherini here today, Commissioner Mogherini, and she deals with an awful lot. She deals with the foreign affairs issues here, and I've been dealing with the Palestinian issue, because in the middle of this, one of the debates that we're going to have here is on the Middle East peace process. And really, unless the issue of Palestine, which I know from the Israelis and from others, we've been looking at their foreign policy, and it is not even on their agenda, despite the fact that this time last year we were all just getting over the shock of what they did in Gaza. Over 2,100 people, men, women, little boys and little girls had been killed. So that's only this week alone, and that's only covering today, the work that I'm doing today. We have got a lot of work ahead of us, and the other two MEPs, Matt and Lynn, are beavering away, but they will be back next month to tell you all about their update. But Liadh and I is holding the fort today, so I'm going to hand you over to her and she will give you her roundup and then close.
Martina, well fought to roll the hard agus Shamid Arish Arash and Strasbourg. I suppose really last week a lot of the work started because we went through 180 amendments in the Budget Committee, which are being voted on in plenary this week. Among those is a report that I'm a shadow on, which was about youth entrepreneurship through education and training. And as we know, this is a vital, important section for us in Ireland, as we see so many of our youth emigrating. We still have the highest rate of youth unemployment in Europe, in Ireland. So really this report is about trying to secure proper funding for that, and the Youth Employment Initiative, which worked really well. Sadly, I think that's going to be coming to an end at the end of next year because the drawdown wasn't there. So that's a huge failing on our government that they didn't actually draw down the funds for the Youth Employment Initiative. Youth Employment Initiative, through the education, entrepreneurship and training, really provides support, I suppose, for people who are starting up their own business. As we see, I did an opinion on a report recently as well on green growth and small enterprises in Ireland. And that showed to me, when I met and engaged with so many SMEs who are the backbone of our economy, particularly in rural Ireland, there are no social welfare benefits, there is no support whatsoever. So reports like this are really vital to get through plenary to try and get increased funding so that we can try and regenerate these opportunities for young people. We want them to stay in Ireland and not move away. So that's that actual report is going to be voted on today. As well as that, we had other amendments through the Budget Committee. One of them was one I put forward on languages. Arish Maris Oldi Verfad, Bimidagoni, Giri Taku Kursitanga. And so that is to try and increase funding or at least keep it at the same level, particularly in the institutions. They're trying to minimise and reduce funding for Irish and for other languages, lesser used languages in the institutions. And again, I suppose when you look at that, you think of the opportunities that people at home would have in translation services. That should really be supported, so I'm hoping that that will get supported in the plenary this week. As well as that, we had another one in the fisheries. And it's a pilot project where we are trying to provide funding for safety gear for fishermen who want to, obviously we've seen too many tragedies at sea, so we need to provide funding for fishermen to be able to buy things like life jackets, tracking devices and so on to try and stop and curtail the accidents that do happen at sea. And this is particularly focused on the smaller fishermen. So that pilot project is being hopefully again supported this week in the plenary. So lots happening in Strasbourg this week, a lot of votes really. And also, I suppose I'll finish up on the fact that we do have in October, we're having an international fishing conference in Dungarvan, so we are really preparing for that. We're hoping that that's going to inform us in Sinn Féin as well, I suppose, of what we can do as a party to accommodate and to support sustainable fishing, particularly for our smaller fishermen and the coastal communities of Ireland. We don't see any sign of recovery. This recovery that the government are talking about, that are beefing up, it's simply not there. Outside of Dublin, we certainly don't see it. So we are working very hard on this end. Particularly, I suppose, we do that through amendments to try and get funding and to try and support pilot projects and other projects that are worthwhile and that need to be supported. So Sinead and Nori, it's all go, go, go since we came. We haven't stopped, and I'm sure we're going to be voting like mad for the next few days. So Sinead, Fekami Chibarish and Misha Huing Gramagad.